Oh, man. It's lower than I expected, but I'm not surprised. Oh, man. Now I'm okay because I wasn't gonna get this game because I already had this feeling kind of. My positive projection was 84 to 88 meta if they knocked it out the park. I said 80 to 84 would still be disappointing, and they hit 78 for Elden Ring Nightreign. We see this right here. Let me go ahead and make that big for y'all real quick. Elden Ring Nightreign right here, 78 meta. Yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. This game is still going to be a good game. 78 is not necessarily bad for a game like this without Miyazaki, because I know if Miyazaki's not directing, there's going to be a lot of other things that are not there, and that quality is going to drop. We've seen it happen with Dark Souls 2. Anything he's not behind is not going to be super, super high quality, hitting like Game of the Year aspect. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm happy to see that Miyazaki's behind Duskblood for the Switch too, because I'm like, okay, at least I know that this is going to be a serious game, like on all scales when he's behind it. But for Nightreign, I wasn't expecting that. And I'm going to say you shouldn't be let down by this, but I can't get mad at people that are, because your expectations of thinking of the name Elden Ring, like when you see that amazing expansion, one of the greatest expansions of all time launch, one of the greatest video games of all time launch, and then they come with this, it's like that's not what I expected. But let me just say, there was some huge negative review here, which is crazy. So this could be at an 80, and I think it should be. Let's go to this review. Let's go down. And this review I'm talking about is right here, 4 out of 10. It's pretty crazy. Let's look at this real quick. It says the very core idea, let me move over, behind the conception of Elden Ring Nightreign is flawed. Loop-based games like roguelikes completely break the magic of From Software's formula. It feels like a bundle of mods that quickly loses its charm due to repetitiveness. That's what I worried about with this game. And that's if you're playing with someone who knows what they're doing. If not, the experience gets much worse. Now, I'm not going to take this as what Elden Ring, Night Ring is. I know this is better than this. I just wanted to see what this guy had to say. One thing that I don't like is they don't have crossplay. With a game like this, I thought that that should have been something that's essential. Seriously. So we're going to look at IGN's review, but let's see what they said right here. When Elden Ring Nightwing is played exactly as it's designed to be played, it's one of the finest examples of a three-player co-op game around. I think that is the reason for playing this game. And it pisses me off because there's some people I do want to play with on multiple different consoles, but I'm playing on PC, but they're not going to be able to play with me because they're on Xbox or they're on PlayStation. And I know this is coming to Switch too, so it's like, why are we not having crossplay in 2025 on a game that's designed around playing together? There's going to be communities in the Xbox. It's not going to be nowhere near as big as these other communities, and that would be the platform I would not want to get it on. This community is going to be so small unless you constantly have enough people, which I think you should and hope that you would. But what I'm basically saying is that it's just disappointing that there's no crossplay. So let's keep reading this. The 8 character classes are each fun to use and feature a surprising amount of depth despite their limited movesets. You kind of expect that in a game. 8 classes is still good. The new Night Lord boss battles are among the best From Software has ever crafted and make the most of the 3-player dynamic and fast-paced race against the clock nature of each run leads to exciting moments of split-second decision making and frantic rushes to try and finish up a fight before the circle closes in. But a lack of crossplay, duo matchmaking, and built-in communication tools make it hard to create the conditions needed to have this kind of experience unless you're bringing 2 real-life friends on every run. And if you wanted to just play by yourself, I can't recommend it because of the poor solo mode balancing. See, that's bad because it means you need somebody to play this game, and if not, they're going to punish you because of it. And then it kind of just makes you get that feeling like, I'm hardcore, I'll find a way, but there's going to be some people that's going to be standing there with nobody probably able to play. Definitely if the community doesn't have enough people, dual matchmaking, I could see there being some turmoil with that. All of this amounts to an ambitious spin-off that's exhilarating when you're able to create the proper conditions, and one that quickly flips to incredibly frustrating moments when you're not, I guess what they meant to say. So we get that idea here. We can go up and read another one, and then we're going to go take a look at the live review. Or what we could do is we could go over here. Let's see what they say over here on Resetera. 78, 79 on Metacritic. GameSpot. Wow, that's surprising. I want to see what they have to say. Damn, this is low. Lower than I expected. This is me. I played the beta. It was neat, but also pretty much confirmed it wasn't how I wanted to engage with these games. Well, then, that changes everything. But there's nothing wrong with experimenting with a spin-off. No crossplay kills the game. That's a big thing for me. Thank you. Too much multiplayer, so it's a 7 or a 9. I think what they should do in the future, if that's a problem, they should go and just rebalance the single player aspect and make it to where you could put a single player type aspect for certain patterns running, and then you can say this is the multiplayer aspect where the stats are for there. If you could do that, people would probably be more happy. I think they could fix that and say we're working on a cross network coding system to add in. Do it from software. You guys can do that. This game will be so much better if you do that. So we still got updates. This is not like an all end all be all. You know what I mean? So 78 for a From game. What a time to be alive. Yeah, that's not nothing you really want to think about in today. But hey, they took that chance with the spinoff. Like I said, I think it's probably at about an 80 without that 4. So yeah, we're looking at an 80 game, and that's exactly what I thought basically about it. So I don't necessarily think negative about it. So it just depends on what you guys are into. So I know the hardcores will get into it. So let's see what IGN has to say over here, all right? Let me know what you guys think.
Elden Ring Nightreign is a weird one. It takes the foundation of one of the best open-world RPGs of a generation and turns it into not just a roguelite where death is even more of a big deal, but a 3-person co-op focused roguelite. And in many ways, that strange experimental concoction is a success. Under the right conditions, Nightreign's 45-ish minute runs are positively thrilling. They are packed with surprising encounters,
45-minute
challenging
runs,
decisions, satisfying opportunities for teamwork, and some of the best boss battles From Software has ever come up with. And that's a very high bar. The big problem, however, is that those right conditions are far more difficult to create than they should be. You really need to have a consistent squad of similarly skilled players that are able to devote hours at a time in order to see what makes Nightreign special. And when you don't, the flaws of its design are magnified tenfold. There is excellence in this Elden Ring spin-off, but it's excellence that's just a little bit tarnished.
I wouldn't expect it to be easy. It's From Software, even without Miyazaki.
Let's get the most important caveat out of the way. If you are hoping to tackle Nightreign entirely solo, and are anything less than a hardcore Elden Ring player that actively seeks out ways to make that already difficult game even more challenging, Nightreign isn't for you. Yes, there's
you know, us hardcore's gonna come in. Definitely people who play this day and night and just be like, skill issue, bro. Not trying to hear that. We're gonna do solo. You're gonna see the solo videos, like the people beating stuff with naked characters. They could get one hit with a crappy weapon. Oh yeah, I mean you got that, but that's a low percentage of the community.
There is technically a single player option, but it's so poorly balanced that I would be honestly shocked if it isn't patched and adjusted within the first month of release.
It has to be.
And this is coming from someone who lives and breathes these types of games. To understand why, we first need to go over what Nightreign even is. On a very basic level, this is a roguelite that takes place on an island called Limveld, which is kind of like a melting pot of Elden Ring's environments, enemies, bosses, and structures. The general flow of a run is split up into a 3-day cycle. On days 1 and 2, it's all about farming gear, defeating bosses, and leveling up so that you're as prepared as possible when you face off against one of the 8 extremely difficult Nightlord bosses on day 3. It's a great formula, and while you might think that the mostly static map would get old after a while, there's a good amount of procedural generation on every run that makes...
Nope, if the foundation is good and you, like you said, generate over and over a good amount of content and keep that going, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? As long as it's good, that's what matters.
Up the location of just about every point of interest, requiring you to plan out a unique route on each new attempt. On top of that, there are also random events like boss raids, summoning portals, and other wild occurrences that inject a heavy level of chaos every once in a while. Efficiency is key because you are on a very strict time limit, with a battle royale-esque circle that constricts at set points throughout the day, eventually shrinking to the size of a small battlefield and setting the stage for a boss battle that ends the night. It is immediately obvious that Nightreign was designed with a 3-player squad in mind.
Yeah, so you see they're designing this to be online with people. So that's why I say that, man, not having crossplay is what? You got to add that in.
Enemy encampments that don't require you to fight a single boss will instead have you spread out to take down 3 tough enemies.
This looks
Basic
good, though.
encounters against 5 or more enemies that would be trivial with 3 players become costly time wasters when you're on your own. And the new Nightlord bosses all seem explicitly designed with having allies in mind, and I'm not sure how I would even approach several of them by myself.
But yeah, I feel like the hardcore community is going to enjoy this big time. For casuals, it's going to be a bit rough. Definitely if they don't have help.
Nightreign at least scales up your damage when you're alone, but it doesn't change any of these fundamental design decisions in any way that would make solo play more reasonable.
Yeah.
But the biggest issue is that co-op partners are able to revive each other when someone goes down, but you've only got 1 life to live against bosses when you're out on your own. That's generally the case in roguelites, but usually there's some sort of safety net that you can fall back on. For example, Hades has Death Defiances, and part of the progression of that game allows you to work towards unlocking more of them with every run. Returnal has artifacts that you can find that give you extra lives, rewarding you for being more thorough in your exploration. Spelunky has shortcuts that allow you to skip the early stages to get practice on the enemies, traps, and bosses that you only have limited experience with. The list goes on, but Nightreign has virtually nothing to make up for the fact that solo players lose access to that crucial revival option. There is an item that will resurrect you once with half of your life, but it's limited to the highest rarity tier, meaning you have to choose it over a legendary weapon if one does appear as a reward. So
yeah, they're going to punish you big time for trying to solo. We could see that big time.
Similarly, you may find them in a shop, but they cost.
And you guys don't be surprised when you see what review they give it. You know IGN is back with the 7 out of 10, right?
Cost a substantial amount of runes that you could instead use to level up. Either way, it's just not a solution that makes up for the crippling detriment of not having someone to revive you if you go down. None of this is to say that solo play is outright impossible, and I have had a few successful runs on my own, just that the balancing of solo play feels like a job half finished, and as a result, the frustration of playing alone wasn't worth the triumph for me to have any desire to play it more without a squad.
Okay. So we get the idea here, just getting a highlight here. I'm not going to drag this video on or none of that. This is for multiplayer. And of course, having a static is definitely the essential thing to tackle this with. Then we're going to have some elite players out there saying, man, I'm putting up solo YouTube videos. Watch me. I don't need no squad. You know what I mean? We're going to see that. It's going to get interesting. It's still from software game. Obviously, it's not going to score as high without Miyazaki. Just wanted to be a smaller scale. Just kind of like a AAA indie aspect they're kind of approaching here. So yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I don't want to see too much because I want to experience stuff myself. I'm kind of like that. So yeah, I still want to experience the game. Maybe it may not be day 1, but we'll see. Because I had to switch to around the corner on Mario Kart and some other games too. So yeah, that's going to be fun. But yeah, let me know what y'all think. Are y'all disappointed because of the Metacritic? Or you don't care? You just want to get it and play it? You were in the beta. Let me know what you think. Do you think that meta matches that? I think it's pretty accurate. I think it's about an 80 though. Somewhere around there. And that's what I've always thought. You know, I've always felt that in my gut. But yeah, so still a new game coming out, an online game we can play. All right, peace out, y'all. Have a great day.